Welcome to AP News live stream of the Sean Diddy Combs sentencing hearing. Behind me, the courthouse, where Sean Diddy Combs will find out from a judge how long, if at all, he'll be in prison. Joining me now is Mike Sisak, AP reporter, who's been in court all day with Combs. He's been in court the whole time during the trial as well. What are you seeing?
Well, I think the big question today is how long will Combs' sentence be, but the more immediate question is how long will his sentencing hearing go on for? Right now we're at a lunch break. We've heard so far from 2 lawyers speaking on behalf of Sean Diddy Combs, and then we also heard from 6 of his 7 children. All of his children except for his 2-year-old daughter spoke in court, spoke about how their father is a hero to them and that they want him back in their lives. Then right before the lunch break, lawyers for Combs played a video, an 11-minute video that showed highlights of him as a father, as a family man, as a businessman, and also highlighting some of his philanthropic endeavors, charter schools that he founded, running in the New York City Marathon, things like that. All of this to try to convey to the judge that Sean Combs is a changed man and not the person that was put on trial, accused of heinous crimes, violence, and ultimately convicted of 2 prostitution-related offenses. Now, of course, we also heard from prosecutors. They were emphatic in their arguments to the judge. Christy Slavic, the prosecutor, saying that despite what you may hear from the defense, that Sean Combs is a changed man in his year-plus in jail, that you have to remember the underlying conduct here, that he is admitted to domestic violence, that he was shown on video in that now infamous tape of the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles where he is beating and kicking and dragging Cassie, his former girlfriend at the time. The prosecutor trying to counter the narrative that Sean Combs is this changed person by reminding the judge, as the judge is formulating this sentence, to consider the totality of the evidence and everything that came out during this trial.
Other people reminding the judge to consider that they think Sean Diddy Combs is not a changed man. Cassie, his ex-girlfriend. At the time, she was his girlfriend, and she's the one in the video seen being kicked and punched by him. Now, she sent a letter to the judge saying that she doesn't believe he's changed, she doesn't believe he's sorry, and she wants him to do serious time.
That's right, yeah. The judge received letters from Cassie, Cassandra Ventura, the R&B singer, who I think dated Combs for more than a decade and was a key figure in this trial, key witness for the prosecution. They also received, the prosecutors conveyed a letter from a woman who testified under the name Mia. Mia was supposed to speak in court today, but the prosecutors said to the judge that she has decided not to do that, in part because she felt bullied, intimidated by Sean Combs' lawyers. They wrote a letter during the week objecting to her appearance at this sentencing hearing, and they accused her of lying. They said she came in here, used a pseudonym, put on a fake voice, put on a fake posture, and they contend that everything she testified about, and she made some grave allegations about sexual violence, sexual abuse, they say she was lying. So the prosecutors say they will not be bringing in any witnesses, any victims to speak in court, but that they will convey those messages through the letters that have been received and ultimately their arguments. On the flip side, we've already heard from 2 lawyers for Combs, 6 of his 7 children, 3 more lawyers are going to speak in the afternoon, and then Sean Combs himself will address the court.
That's because the accused always gets the last word. I mean, he will have his right to speak, even though he didn't speak during the trial. He didn't take the witness stand, which of course was his right during the trial, but he will speak today.
That's right. A lot of rights here at play, a lot of constitutional rights that protect all defendants, and Sean Combs exercising those. At trial, he elected not to testify on his own behalf. He spoke briefly in court during the trial, just conveying to the judge that he was making that decision not to testify on his own volition and his own accord. And then today, his lawyers have said that he will exercise his right of allocution, it's called, which is a defendant's right to speak in court, to potentially show remorse, to try to convince the judge to show leniency. And Sean Combs gave a preview of what he's going to say in court in a 4-page letter that he sent to the judge yesterday. In that letter, he talked, as his lawyers did today, about being a changed man, about how going to jail after his arrest in September of 2024 has allowed him to kick drugs and alcohol, how while behind bars he has taught a class to other inmates, conveying his business skills in a 6-week course that was called Free Game with Diddy. And then in other letters sent in by his lawyers, there are people who say that he's going to continue to teach and continue to impart his knowledge on people. He has speaking engagements, in fact, lined up for next week in Miami, a point that prosecutors seized on and said he is acting like he's going to be a free man in just a few hours or just a few days, scheduling appointments outside of jail. Prosecutor Christy Slavic said that was the ultimate hubris because the judge has not yet decided on a sentence. Prosecutors want more than 11 years in prison. Combs' lawyers want him released almost immediately. They're calling for 14 months, which is just about going to line up with how much time he's already served.
And then the sentencing guidelines are about 70 months, right? Yeah,
about 6-7 years. In the federal court system, there are these things called federal sentencing guidelines, and they are established essentially to make sure that John Doe and a person in Oklahoma and a person in California and a person in New York and Sean Combs are all sentenced under the same basic formula and the same basic amount of time. Now, there are various factors, the severity of the offense, criminal history, and then other factors. Prosecutors, for example, wanted an increased offense score, they call it, or increased time for certain things that they say were relevant to this case, the violence and the brutality. There were some enhancements, as they call them, including for coercion. Now, you have to remember that Sean Combs, there was a split verdict at his trial. It was a mixed verdict. He was convicted on 2 prostitution-related charges: transportation for the purposes of prostitution, a violation of the Federal Mann Act, which is a century-plus-old statute. Those charges, 2 counts, each count is punishable by up to 10 years in prison. He was acquitted on the more serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy, which could have landed him behind bars for the rest of his life. Those carry a maximum life sentence. So he was acquitted, and he, celebrated a partial victory when the trial concluded in July. But at the same time, he is facing potentially years behind bars, and the judge has said that while the jury acquits you on charges, it does not necessarily acquit you of conduct, and the violence and the coercion and things like that can factor into how the sentence is handed out.
Now let's talk about how Diddy looked in the courtroom, because cameras are not allowed in the courtroom. We will be seeing sketches later on, but there are no cameras. So we only can go by what you tell us and what we see in the sketches. And I've been in court with you, and we see a very different Diddy. He's got the gray hair, he's got the gray beard, the goatee is gray. What did he look like today? I'm told he was wearing his own clothes today.
That's right, yeah. Sean Combs looked very similar to how he did at his trial. His trial started in May, ended in July. He's in a federal lockup, so he does not have access to hair dye. So we remember Sean Combs as having this jet black hair. He doesn't have that anymore. It's more salt and pepper, gray, white in spots. He was allowed to wear, normal clothes, quote unquote, non-jail attire. He's wearing a light-colored sweater over a button-down shirt with dark pants. He came into court. He waved to his family, his supporters in the audience. He conferred with his lawyers, put on a pair of glasses, and started reading some of the legal documents, some of the many legal documents that are involved in this case. But yeah, Sean Combs came from this jail where he's been for more than a year, and for at least a few hours today, he is looking the part of the Sean Combs of old, if not for the hair. Still the salt and pepper, not the black hair that we're used to.
Well, Mike Sisak, thank you very much. I know you have to go back into court. I know we're on a lunch break now, but that doesn't last very long. Thank you for joining us. And if you like the coverage that you're seeing, if you like the AP News live stream of the Sean Diddy Combs sentencing, we have reporters on the ground all over the world bringing you stories and reporting. Please support us at apnews.com. Donate.